Alpha
Omega.
Kent, is fasting of benefit? If yes, when is the best time and proper way? You want to take this or shall I?
Yeah, I'll take this one.
Mm-hmm.
Fasting is like vegetarianism when it comes to magic. It is absolutely and completely an individual decision. And it's something that should not be entered into lightly, because fasting can, in fact, be very dangerous if you have an unknown heart condition, if you have an unknown blood sugar problem. These two especially will cause you great difficulty when you begin fasting. The other thing is, we live in such a poisoned environment
Right.
that when you begin fasting and your body starts running through the self-cleaning cycle, it's like running the self-cleaning cycle on a dishwasher that has never been descaled, and yet it's in Florida where there's a lot of calcium buildup, right? The
Right.
first time you descale it, you're probably going to see little miniature coral coming out of it because things have been growing and getting really big. But after successive cleanings, then, it gets easier and easier, the water runs clear, and you find you can go longer and longer between these cleanings. Fasting is exactly the same. I have been practicing fasting since I was about 8 years old. My family used fasting as both a health practice and a religious practice.
Mm-hmm.
We were not supposed to eat before we went to church at all, nothing. And it didn't matter whether we went to the first Mass at 6 a.m. or the last one at noon. You couldn't eat before Mass.
Wow.
So that's when I first started experimenting with fasting.
Protestants like breakfast.
Yeah, but boy, that wine, I tell you, on an empty stomach, whew, you see things. Fasting also, you can do different levels of fasting. For example, if it's the very first time you've ever attempted a fast, I recommend that your first fast be a chemical fast. No more high fructose corn syrup, no more glyphosate, so you'll probably have to cut out all wheat products, and you should stay away from all dairy products. If you can do that for 1 week, you will know you have been on a fast. Your body will feel incredibly different at the end of those 7 days, just by removing those 3 things. Now, granted, I'm taking a lot of things out of your diet, but if you really want to see the benefits of fasting without actually having to do a full-on don't
fast,
eat anything
right.
fast, this is the easiest way to see how fasting is going to either augment or hinder your magical practice.
Right. You see, certainly fasting can be of use.
Yes.
But what Leslie's talking about is actually more important in terms. See, when you bring up the question of fasting, you bring up the question of nutrition. And proper nutrition is absolutely essential to magic.
Yes.
And special diet, and that you keep this machine working under optimal conditions.
Yes. Absolutely.
This is what matters. So, and in the Western world, I get where Leslie's going with this, because here, especially in America, our food supply is under attack.
Mm-hmm.
Our water supply is under attack. We've got fluoride. What is it? Hydrofluorosilicic acid.
Hydrofluorosilicic acid.
It's really bad stuff, folks, in our water supply. This is not good for you. It's a bad halogen, and actually lowers IQ. Those of us who've been drinking tap water for our entire lives, like my mother gave it to me, and yours
My
did
mother
to
gave
you,
it to me.
we've probably lost, scientists estimate, about 10 IQ points because
At least
of that.
10, maybe as much as 30, depending on what area of the country you were in.
So nutrition is incredibly important, and especially iodine, because of the tendency to the calcification of the pineal gland as well.
Yes.
So you need to get some good halogen. Some iodine will help you. And there are lots and lots of other things that you can do nutritionally. So what Leslie's suggesting, and this is really important, is that rather than doing a full-on fast, If you're interested in improving your magic with nutrition, the best thing that you can do is to begin to remove as many toxins from your water and food supply as you can.
Yes. Now, the other reason why I suggest that you do that is if you just try fasting and you haven't taken the time to remove these toxins that have been building up from your
Right,
system, you're going to get incredibly sick. You're
right.
going to be, fasting is not for me. This is garbage. Forget it. It'll never work. When in fact, the only thing that has happened is you have not properly prepared yourself for the fasting experience.
You know, and
It's,
especially the first time, you might want to, if you're gonna fast, you should definitely be intelligent about it. Don't just fast. You
mhm.
understand it's a cleansing experience. So you might want to take some sort of cleansing nutritional products as well. What is that website again? World Health Center, Dr. Group site?
Oh, Global Healing
Global Healing
Center.
Center.
Hmm.
Global Healing Center, Dr. Group. Go over there and take a look. If you're serious about starting with fasting,
Hmm.
go over there and take a look at some of the different cleanses that they have that you can do while you're fasting.
Right, because if you've never fasted before, or if it's been a very long time since you
Hmm.
have, you may have hidden blockages in your lymphatic system. And a lymphatic block creates puffiness under your skin, and when it breaks loose, can make you incredibly sick because it carries such a high density of heavy metal toxins, especially things like mercury and lead that naturally occur in our environment, get built up in our lymphatic system.
Right.
And it's very easy to get blockages there that are released in the fasting process. So, fasting, I fast frequently. I enjoy it. It's not a task for me. I find it easy. I find fasting, in fact, enjoyable.
I don't at all. I don't like it.
And this is just, it's just a difference in mentality
Right.
and in
Although unless it's
physiology.
necessary for me magically for some sort of an operation, that's different.
Right. And I'm not at all not right. If the magical requirement is that I sit down to a full duck dinner before I cast the spell, absolutely I will. You know, it's not something that yeah, it's something I use sparingly because it is such a powerful technique.
So, as long as we're talking about that, we teach in Spellwork Mastery that one of the things that I don't want to go too much into this because we don't teach spells here. It's low magic, it's different.
Mhm.
But there as well as here, just like a talisman, you need to charge a talisman. It needs to be loaded with energy. Well, same thing with a spell.
Mhm.
And one way to fuel your spells is through fasting
Yes,
before you cast. I mean, this is one application of this in a
yes.
magical sense.
And in addition, the consuming of things on top of the fast. That's what I learned from the Catholics because remember, I was having to fast until Mass, and then the first thing I ate was the wafer and the wine, right? And when that is what broke my fast. And
Hmm.
it that first bite, whatever the first bite happens to be, it gives you a communicative experience
Hmm.
that is very interesting. So
Wonderful.
watch for that too. If you decide to take the fasting route, watch for the entire process. It operates like a bell curve. There's a slow build up. You'll find there's a peak in the experience, and then it tapers off again as you re-enter the normal world of food.
Whether or not you're going to fast, if you're serious about your magic, sooner or later you're going to want to educate yourself about nutrition. Especially these days when our food supply and our water supply is under attack.
Mm-hmm.
You really, really, really need to give some attention to this. And I know that organic food is more expensive, and I know that many of us are pinched in terms of economizing,
Mm-hmm.
but you're a lot better off to eat organic wherever you can and eat less of it.
Right, because the organic food has more nutritional components in it. It's real food. It isn't empty. It hasn't been grown for the eye. It's been grown for your stomach. And so even though you'll be eating less, you'll be getting the same nutrition out of what you're eating, which is what most people are missing in conventional foods. They're eating a slice of a bell pepper and they're not getting any vitamin C out of it, or they're eating
Right.
lettuce and the only thing they get is water. They're not getting any, of the trace potassium and selenium that lettuce contains that makes lettuce an important vegetable.
You know, I worked for many, many years as a tour director, taking Europeans and South Americans around the United States
Mhm.
and showing them around. And what was the number one question that I got about American culture and Americans? Why are there so many fat people in America?
Right.
Well, I can tell you there are three reasons. One reason is they took the iodine out of our bread and out of our salt.
Yes.
And this starving for iodine creates an imbalance that will pack on the weight.
Oh, yes.
They've been poisoning us with the fluoride in our water.
Mm-hmm.
And most importantly, and this is the way that I used to answer these questions on the bus or with the group on the bus, the easiest place to show them is in a supermarket. Well, you want to
Right.
know why there's so many fat people in America?
Mm-hmm.
Here's your answer right here.
Right.
See this apple? It's perfect, right? Look at
Mhm.
this apple, looks just like it. And if you look across the entire produce section, you have everything that looks in size, shape, and color
Mhm.
is perfectly identical and pleasing to the eye.
Mhm.
Our food here in America is produced for the eye, not for nutrition.
Right. Right.
So therefore, it hasn't been produced for nutrition. You're missing a lot of the nutritional value for that beautiful, perfect visual experience.
Yes.
And then there are all the pesticides and all of the poisons on top of that.
Right.
So when you buy organic, when you're eating organic food,
Mhm.
you're getting food that has been cultivated for nutrition.
Yes.
It's not just that you're missing the pesticides, and that's important.
Mhm.
And the GMOs, which is even more important.
Yes. GMOs are the most important thing you can get out of your diet
But you're
immediately.
buying food that has been grown for its nutritional value.
Right. And there might even be a blemish on it.
Yeah, who cares?
Right.
Right. And of course, the absolute best thing is to grow your own. And if you've ever had an apple tree in your backyard, then you know what real apples look like. They do not at all look like the same to one or the other, and they're not all
Right.
perfect blemish free.
Right.
But they taste completely different than the cardboard tasting apples you get in the supermarket when
That's
you
right.
buy conventional apples.
Yes. Yes.
So the question was, why is it that there are so many obese people in the United States that I got asked over and over?
Mhm.
The number one reason is because so many of us are starving to death.
High fructose corn syrup has actually no nutritional value whatsoever.
We are starving to death because there's no nutrition in the apples we're eating.
Right.
There's no nutrition in the vegetables we're eating. We're eating and eating and eating and eating, but it's like eating cardboard from a nutritional point of view.
Mhm. Because there's nothing in it. It's all empty. The fields are played out.
And your body stays hungry because, oh my God, I'm starving. I'm hungry for this or that or whatever it is, and it's not in the food.
Right.
So the reason so many people in America overeat is because of the fact that we're hungry for nutrition
Mhm.
and we're not getting it from our food.
Right.
So believe it or not, starting to eat more nutritional food, starting to eat organic is also a way to lose weight.
Yes.
For this reason, because since you're getting the nutritional value that you need, you don't need to eat as much of it.
And start with simple things. Don't buy the arugula, for crying out loud. Go get some organic potatoes, some
Really?
organic pinto beans,
Right.
organic onions,
Organic rice.
Basic foods. And you'll find you need no spice at all.
And with the stuff they've been doing to the corn with all of this GMO nonsense, organic corn is very important. You got to really avoid that GMO corn.
GMO corn is very dangerous. Should I go into exactly why?
Sure, if you'd like.
Okay, exactly why. GMO corn is dangerous because the way that the corn has been genetically engineered is that the corn produces a compound, no, okay, that when the insect eats it, causes the insect to not be able to digest its food. So the insect eats and eats and eats, is never able to digest its food, and so it starves to death and dies.
Right.
Now, the problem is that genetically modified corn is transgenic. What is transgenic? Transgenic means that
It changes you.
as your body digests the corn
that
the
you're talking
DNA
about
comes apart.
actually produces pesticide. It causes the
Yes.
pesticide to be produced in the animals that are feeding on the corn.
Yes. When you eat corn that has been genetically modified, because the gene is transgenic, as you digest it, the genes in the genetically modified corn fall apart and begin free roaming in your body. They attach to the genetic material already in your body and reincorporating it, changing the genetic material inside your intestines, just like it changes the intestines of the grasshopper, making it
Right.
nearly impossible for you to digest your food.
Right.
This is why people think they're allergic to wheat. This is why so many people are becoming allergic to so many things. They're not allergic to things. They have eaten a poison which has changed their guts.
Right.
You can reverse this. It's very simple. Stop eating genetically modified corn. Don't eat genetically modified soybeans. Stay away from genetically modified everything. And please read the back of the package. You'll find that on packages of Doritos, at the bottom, underneath where it says how many calories are in them, it says partially produced with genetic engineering.
Right.
You should not be eating that if you're using your best clean food practice.
It's really a challenge to shop in the supermarkets these days. You really have to read the ingredients on everything because they're bringing in poisons from so many different directions.
Yes, every direction.
Take, for example, organic canola oil. They're actually trying to sell organic canola oil in the supermarket.
Canola oil is called rapeseed oil in Europe because the seed itself is so violent the way it overtakes other fields.
Right.
It's very virulent and it grows everywhere. It is a weed. And the oil from the seeds creates kind of a thick glue on top of neural endings, making it more difficult for energy to go through from one nerve ending to the next, because you've got the neural ball and then the catching neurons, right? Well, the neural ball gets a collection of coagulated canola oil on it, and so as it tries to send this out, there's not enough of a charge to be picked up. And this is what causes a lot of nerve damage. People losing feeling in their hands and their arms, various parts of their body. It also creates a lot of problems with plaque.
So avoid the canola oil.
Canola oil is
organic
also,
canola oil is like organic rat poison.
yeah, organic arsenic.
Right. So, yeah. So anyway, I think that's about. Is there anything else you want to say? As long as we're on the subject of nutrition, this is really good. I mean, I'm really glad that you brought it up. We haven't really talked about this in class yet. I'm really glad that somebody brought it up because
Right, and I haven't
it's really important.
Yeah, and I haven't had the opportunity to get really technical with you and explain to you why these things are so dangerous. But as soon as you understand that if you eat this corn, it's going to change your genes, that's all it took for me to not ever want to eat anything genetically modified again. If something I eat endangers my genetic code,
Right.
I'm not going to eat it. It's
Right.
that simple. And it's when I see a damaging to my own genetic code that I see going on in the world that I start to get alarmed. And that's why 5G I find to be a problem. Because 5G, the frequency at which it vibrates is exactly the frequency necessary to blast apart DNA. Now, why would that be? We've had radio waves, television waves, shortwave radio waves, for as long as we've had electricity. And those were never damaging to our DNA.
Leslie's a science geek in the family.
Right.
It's good to have an anthropologist around. It really is in a lot of different ways. It's really important. So yeah, nutrition is really important, and we don't talk about it nearly enough. And it's really, especially these days, because, guys, our food supply, our water supply, our air supply, all of it, everything is under attack. Also, the geoengineering in the air. So, I mean, it's some nasty stuff they're spraying up there. But okay, so how do we defend ourselves? One thing that you do is filter your water. You get don't stay away from bottled water if you can, because that outgassing from the plastic causes a whole other problem. But filter your water. Get yourself a good reverse osmosis filter or another good water filter. You can pick up a RO filter at Home Depot or Lowe's for $150. Maybe
I
even
installed
less.
the one in our house. It's really not difficult at all.
Takes 15-20 minutes to install under the sink.
Yes.
And then you have an unlimited supply of clean, pure water that you know what's in it and not in it.
That's right.
So that's one thing. Air filters. Air filters are very important too. We have air filters running all the time here in the house because we live in the desert and there is a lot of nanoparticulate dust here. But everywhere, because of the geoengineering, it's a great idea to have air filtration in your home.
Yes, very important to have air filtration in your home. Most people's homes, whether they realize it or not, are dirtier than a forest fire. If you question that, just open up any air intake and run your finger through it with a white glove. You'll be horrified. And each time wind blows through that, it does pick up some of that particulate matter. And of course, whatever of that is floating through the air gets stuck onto it, creating more and more layers. It's just, don't get me started with the dust here.
And again, nutrition is the best defense.
Nutrition, nutrition, nutrition.
These
Garbage
days,
in, garbage out.
Look, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. And it was bad news for me too when I first woke up and first began to realize these things. But these days, it is not safe to just go through the supermarket and buy whatever you want. There's just too much poison in our food. If you care about yourself, if you care about your magic, if you care about your longevity, then pay very careful attention to what you're getting in your food.
The Illuminati have cast a powerful spell on the peoples of the earth. And while many still sleepwalk like zombies in a trance, they have prepared everything nearly to enslave humanity under a new world empire.
Of our hearts, the power of our magic, and the strength of our numbers, we still can break the spell put on our people.
We're just a ragtag bunch of magicians armed only with the power of our prayer and the power of our faith and the power of our magic. But whether you be Christian, Jew, Wiccan, pagan, magician, shamanic practitioner, or any other stripe of spiritual warrior of humanity against this evil falls to us.
So we, who now, to stand with us against the rising darkness, because you're our only hope.
Have you ever wanted to gain real magical abilities so you can become the master of your destiny?
Do you wish you could get the ancient secret key for free so you can build the life of your dreams?
If you've wanted more out of life, to become all that you can be, physically, romantically, financially, spiritually, then you need to take action and get this right now.
That's right, and for free, but it won't be available for much longer.
So go right now to thescienceofmiracles.com and get started. Achieve the prosperous life you want for yourself. Gain ultimate life mastery.
Are you familiar with the Rosicrucian with what's his name? He's popular in the States. He's the president or the
Emperor.
Imperator.
The president.
Emperor.
Imperator.
From the Golden Dawn. What's his name?
Oh.
David Griffin holds this position as Emperor.
Imperator.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
Have David Griffin.
I saw an email yesterday that he sent out about, there's a magical war going on.
The Mage War.
Demons of the infernal realm. I'm all of them.
There is really a magical war going on.
The Mage War.
There is a guy called David Griffin who is heading all these magicians.
David Griffin is S.L. McGregor Mather's present successor.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
I'm Golden Dawn Imperator David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
Now David Griffin.
There's a magical war going on.
So there is really a magical war going on.
Alpha
Omega.